Now imagine this. What comes to mind when you think of World War I? Trenches, cannons, warships. Yes, but that's only one side of the coin. In those years there was another side to that coin. In gold reserves, bond markets, behind the closed doors of central banks, in the offices of men who never set foot on the front lines, yet determined the fate of the war. Soldiers paid this price with their blood. Bankers and governments paid it with a calculator, and the outcome of those calculations still affect us today. 1914. Everyone said, "This war will be over soon." Do you know what Europe's leaders were planning when the war began? It'll be over by Christmas. We'll pay in gold, borrow a little. Our citizens will donate to the cause, and that'll be that. Within a few weeks, that plan was in ruins, because the war was consuming money at a pace no one could have predicted. By the end of 1914, Germany was spending millions of marks a day. Britain's daily cost had reached £2.5 million sterling. They eventually realized gold reserves would not be enough. So what did they do? They ignored the rules. The great powers one by one suspended the gold standard. In other words, they were essentially saying, right now there is no gold backing your money, Boos, but trust us, we'll sort it out. And that right there is one of the defining turning points in modern financial history. Because with that decision, money became tied not to metal, but to faith in the state. The printing press started running, credit expanded, and once governments got a taste of that freedom, they never gave it up again. Germany's situation was far more dire. We're talking about a country under naval blockade, cut off from international markets. So what did it do? It sold to its own citizens. They called it war bonds. They plastered posters on every street. Soldiers on the front are shedding their blood for the homeland. You, too, must sacrifice your savings for the nation. After all, once they won the war, everyone would get it all back with interest. This way they collected billions of marks, but victory never came. And those bonds turned to scraps of paper. Millions of Germans lost everything overnight. That pain, that rage, that despair laid the groundwork that extremists would feed on in the years that followed. Britain, on the other hand, held a great advantage. London was the financial capital of the world. The entire world trusted the sterling, but it wasn't enough. In the end, they turned their eyes to America. And while America officially remained neutral in 1914, American bankers saw the opportunity. Firms like J.P. Morgan became the financial saviors of Britain and France. Weapons, food, raw materials. They organized all of it. They earned millions of dollars in commissions. By the time America entered the war in 1917, Wall Street had already been filling the Allies' coffers for years. And when the war ended, what we witnessed was this. America had entered as a debtor nation and emerged as the world's greatest creditor. This is the real reason the 20th century became the American century. The war was won not on the battlefields, but in the ledgers. Let's take a brief look at Russia. Yes, the empire was vast, but its financial system was just as fragile. It was dependent on French capital. As defeats piled up, inflation exploded and confidence in the ruble collapsed entirely. The 1917 revolution was not merely a matter of ideology. The monetary system had ceased to exist. Inflation had crushed the people. Economic chaos dismantled the political system along with it. Never forget this. Money and power have always walked hand in hand throughout history. So who paid the bill for the war? The people, of course, as always. Now let's look at what happened once the war ended. The Allies had spent approximately $140 billion. The Central Powers around $60 billion. These were figures the world had never seen before. The gold standard was in tatters. Inflation was eating away at economies. In Germany in 1923, a loaf of bread had risen to billions of marks. People were going to the market with a wheelbarrow full of cash just to go shopping. So who paid the bill for this chaos? The ordinary people, of course. Those who had scraped together their savings with great difficulty, only to see every last bit of it destroyed. And what did the wealthy do in the meantime? They moved their assets abroad. They invested in goods that held their value. They stayed close to knowledge and power. In a financial war, the small saver is always the first to lose. And this is exactly where I want to turn back to you. States learned how to sever currency from gold, issue unlimited bonds, and paper over debts with temporary measures during World War I. And this system has not changed since that day. The 2008 financial crisis, the stagflation of the 1970s. Every time they say the same things. The fundamentals are sound. This is temporary, just like they said in 1914. When central banks say inflation is transitory, when governments raise the debt ceiling every single year, when digital money is created at the touch of a button, stop and remember everything I have told you here. Because bonds dressed up in the clothing of patriotism may be presented to you today under different names. But the game is always the same. Finally, history does not repeat itself exactly, but its rhythm is always the same. The financial order written in 1914 has been used again and again, each time in a new language with new justifications, but the outcome has never changed. The powerful protect themselves and the uninformed pay the price. Never forget this. The truth is always hidden in the balance sheets, and those who understand history can never be deceived.